The distant colony of Arden 7 hung silently in the void, scarred and broken. Smoke rose from shattered buildings and the once bright streets were empty. The attack had come swiftly, leaving only destruction behind. Most of the colony's inhabitants had fled, but some had been trapped, hiding among the ruins. Captain Elias Kane floated above the wreckage in his human rescue ship, scanning the planet with sharp, focused eyes. His ship, the Horizon, was small but fast, designed for quick rescues and dangerous missions. "Target locked," said his co-pilot, a young human named Mara, her voice steady but tense. "There's someone moving near the collapsed market district." Elias leaned forward, adjusting the controls. "Keep the shields up. I want a full scan before we land. I don't want surprises today." The sensors flickered, showing faint heat signatures among the debris. One of them moved slower than the others, almost carefully. Elias frowned. "That one isn't running like the rest. Someone's hurt, or scared." The ship descended slowly, careful not to stir dust clouds that would give away their position. Elias could see the figure now, small, delicate, and unlike any human he had ever seen. Her skin was a pale lavender, almost glowing softly under Arden 7's dim light. Her eyes were wide and silver, reflecting fear and confusion. She clutched a small pack to her chest, holding it like it contained her entire world. Elias activated the ship's external speaker. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Horizon. We are here to help. Come out slowly and no one will hurt you." The figure froze, her head darting from side to side. Her body trembled. Elias could feel her fear even from here, amplified by some quiet strength he couldn't place. This wasn't just a scared survivor. She had learned to hide, to survive alone. After a tense moment, she started to step forward. Her movements were careful, almost mechanical, like she had practiced being invisible for years. The human's scanners picked up her energy signatures, confirming what Elias suspected. She wasn't human. "Scan says she's alive and well physically," Mara said, breaking the quiet tension. "But emotionally, she's locked down." Elias exhaled slowly. "That's okay. Some barriers take time. Let's get her safe first." The ship's ramp lowered and the soft hum of the engines filled the quiet ruins. The alien woman paused, staring at the open ramp as though it were a trap. Then, with one last hesitant glance at the broken buildings behind her, she stepped aboard. The interior of the Horizon was warm and safe compared to the cold, shattered streets. The woman's eyes darted around, taking in the strange humans, the unfamiliar machines, and the soft glow of the ship's lights. She kept her pack close, her fingers gripping it tightly. Elias stepped forward. He lowered his voice to a calm, gentle tone. "You're safe now. No one here will hurt you. I promise." The woman's gaze locked on him. Her eyes were sharp, but there was a flicker of something else. Curiosity, maybe disbelief. Elias noticed the way she flinched at his words, like no one had ever spoken to her so kindly before. I am Lyra," she said finally, her voice quiet and cautious. I have nowhere to go." Elias smiled softly. "Then you're going to come with me. We'll find somewhere safe. You don't have to be alone anymore, Lyra." She froze again, a small shiver running through her body. She didn't move or speak for a long moment. Then, almost instinctively, Elias took a step closer and said something he didn't usually say. "Thank you for trusting me. Love." The words hung in the air. Lyra's silver eyes widened and she froze completely. Her breathing slowed, her body stiffened, and she looked as if she had been struck by lightning. Elias realized instantly that she had never heard a word like that before. "Love," she whispered, as if the word itself was fragile and strange. Elias knelt slightly, keeping his distance but showing he meant no harm. "It's just a word," he said softly. "A word humans use for someone we care about. That's all. You don't have to understand it right away. I just wanted you to know that I care, and I'm grateful you stepped aboard." Lyra's hands gripped her pack tighter, but she didn't pull it away. For a long moment, she simply stared, silent and uncertain. Elias waited patiently. In situations like this, patience was more valuable than words, more powerful than any weapon. Mara stepped forward quietly. "Captain, should we start medical scan?" Elias nodded. "Yes, but gently. Don't alarm her." The ship's med bay opened and a soft, warm light filled the small room. Sensors scanned Lyra, checking for injuries and signs of fatigue. Physically, she was unharmed, but her posture and nervous movements told another story. She had been surviving alone for a long time, and every muscle in her body was tense. "Your body is fine. Elias said softly. "But it looks like you've been through a lot." "That's okay. We'll take it slow." Lyra's eyes flicked between Elias and the med bay. She finally lowered her pack slightly but kept it close. She didn't speak. Instead, she just allowed the scan to proceed, small movements that showed tentative trust. Hours passed as the horizon flew through the debris-filled atmosphere, moving to a safer orbit. Elias spent the time speaking to Lyra in calm, reassuring tones. He explained who he was, what the ship did, and why humans cared about helping others, even strangers. He spoke slowly, clearly, and without expectation. He didn't push her, and he never forced her to respond. Lyra listened, her eyes wide, her body slowly relaxing. Occasionally, she would tilt her head, her sharp gaze studying him as if trying to understand what humans were like. Elias noticed the small details, how she flinched when he raised a hand too quickly, how she seemed drawn to warmth and light. Finally, as they reached orbit and the planet's destruction shrank below them, Elias spoke again. "You're safe now, Lyra. You can rest. And thank you. Thank you for trusting me even a little." He smiled again, soft and genuine, and added quietly, "Love." Lyra blinked. Then for the first time her lips curved into a tiny, hesitant smile. It wasn't full, but it was there, a small sign that the walls she had built around herself were beginning to crack. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. He had seen many survivors, many frightened souls, but there was something unique about Lyra. Something that made him want to protect her not just for the mission, but because she deserved it. She had survived alone for so long, and maybe, just maybe, she could begin to believe that she didn't have to anymore. The horizon drifted further from Arden 7, leaving the ruins behind. Outside, the stars glimmered silently, vast and endless. Inside, the small warmth of trust began to grow between a human and an alien who had never known kindness before. Elias glanced at Lyra, who now sat quietly, her pack at her side, her eyes staring out the window at the distant stars. "We'll get through this," he said softly, "step by step. And when you're ready, you'll see that humans can be more than you thought." Lyra's gaze met his again, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. Perhaps hope. Perhaps trust. Perhaps the faintest hint that a word like love could exist outside of fear. The ship continued its journey, carrying them both away from destruction and toward something new. And for the first time in a long time, Lyra didn't feel completely alone. The horizon glided silently through the blackness of space. Stars shimmered beyond the thick glass of the ship's windows, distant and cold. Inside, the atmosphere was warm and calm. Lyra sat near the observation deck, her silver eyes fixed on the endless void, but her thoughts were far from space. She could still feel the memories of Arden 7, the smoke, the ruins, the fear. Elias sat across from her, quietly monitoring the ship's instruments. Mara, his co-pilot, moved silently around the cabin, adjusting minor systems and checking for any alerts. Despite the calm, Elias could feel the tension radiating from Lyra. She had survived alone for years, relying only on herself. Trust was foreign to her. He decided to try again, speaking softly. "Lyra, you did well back there. You stepped onto the ship even when you were scared. That took courage." Lyra's eyes flicked toward him, but she didn't respond. She gripped her pack tightly, as if holding onto it made her safe. Elias noticed the small movements, the tiny shifts in her posture. Each was a signal of trust, even if she wasn't ready to speak. "You don't have to talk," he continued. "Just know that being brave doesn't mean you have to face everything alone." For a long moment, she didn't move. Then in a quiet voice she said, "Alone. I have always been alone." Elias nodded. "I know, and I can't take away everything you've been through, but maybe you don't have to be alone anymore." Her eyes softened slightly, but her body remained tense. Elias realized this would take time, weeks, maybe months, but it was possible. He had seen humans and other species overcome fear before. With patience, trust could grow. The ship's alarm suddenly chimed, small red lights blinking on the console. Mara's voice was steady, but the tension was clear. "Captain, I'm picking up multiple small ships approaching from the planet's surface." "They're not human," Elias frowned. "Hostile or just curious?" Mara shook her head. "Unknown, sir. They're fast and small like scouts." "But they're armed," Elias stood. "All right. Lyra, stay here. Keep low and calm. Mara, engage defensive shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers." Lyra's hand tightened on her pack. Elias noticed, but he didn't panic. He approached her slowly, keeping his voice calm. I'll protect you. Nothing will happen to you as long as you trust me. She blinked at him, unsure, but nodded slightly. That small gesture was all he needed. It was a beginning. The horizon sailed silently through the vast darkness of space. Stars blinked like distant fires, casting a pale light across the ship's hull. Lyra remained near the observation deck, her silver eyes reflecting the distant galaxies. For the first time, she felt something unfamiliar, a flicker of safety. Elias noticed, and a small smile tugged at his lips. Step by step, she was learning to trust. But safety, as Elias knew well, was always temporary in the galaxy. Mara's voice broke the calm. Captain, sensors are picking up irregular energy signatures nearby. They're not from any known human technology. Elias leaned forward. Can you pinpoint the source? Mara frowned. Not exactly. It's fluctuating. But it's moving fast and getting closer. Lyra stiffened, gripping her pack instinctively. Elias moved to her side, keeping his tone calm. Stay calm. We'll handle this together. The ship shuddered as a series of bright lights appeared on the scanners. Small, sleek alien ships had surrounded them, their energy weapons glowing faintly. They moved with speed and precision, clearly targeting the horizon. Elias exhaled slowly. Defensive maneuvers, full shields. Let's show them why humans don't give up easily. Mara's fingers flew over the controls, activating the ship's shields and countermeasures. Lyra crouched near the observation deck, her eyes wide with fear, but also with something else. Curiosity. She watched Elias work, noting the precision, the calm in his voice, the way he calculated every move. Humans could be unpredictable, yes, but also remarkably brave. The alien ships opened fire. Energy beams slammed into the horizon, bouncing off its shields with violent sparks. Elias maneuvered the ship expertly, weaving through the attacks. Mara's hands were steady, but her jaw was tight. Captain, one of them is closing in fast. We can't outrun it for long. Elias's eyes narrowed. Lyra, you can help. I need you to focus. Lyra's head snapped up, confused. Help? How can I help? Use your abilities, Elias said calmly. I've seen you react fast before. Trust me. She hesitated, fear and doubt clashing inside her. But then she took a deep breath and let herself feel the energy in the room, the vibrations of the ship, the positions of the incoming ships, the faint disturbances in the space around them. Her perception sharpened. In an instant, Lyra's body moved almost on its own. She directed a small burst of the horizon's external energy field, redirecting one of the enemy ship's weapons back toward the attackers. The ship shuddered as the blast hit, sending one of the alien scouts spinning out of control. Elias whistled softly. Not bad, Lyra, not bad at all. She glanced at him, eyes wide. I did that? Yes, Elias said, smiling. You're more capable than you think. The remaining alien ships hesitated, surprised by the unexpected defense. The horizon seized the opportunity, executing a sharp maneuver and escaping into a narrow asteroid field. The alien scouts didn't follow. They couldn't risk crashing into the dense rocks. Once the immediate danger passed, Elias turned to Lyra. See, you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. And bravery isn't just about fighting. It's about trusting yourself. Lyra sank onto a nearby seat, her breath coming in short bursts. I never knew I could. Her voice trailed off. She stared at her hands, almost in disbelief. Elias knelt beside her. You did it, and I'm proud of you. That's why I call you love, because I see your strength, and I'm grateful you're here. Lyra froze. The word love again, but this time it felt different. She wasn't just hearing it. She was beginning to understand it. Not as a strange alien concept, but as an expression of trust and recognition. Later in the medbay, Elias checked on Lyra, making sure she hadn't sustained any injuries. Her body was fine, but her muscles were tense from the adrenaline. He adjusted the medical sensors gently. You're safe now, he said softly. Nothing more can harm you here. Lyra looked at him, eyes wide, unsure if she should respond. Finally, she whispered, Thank you for believing in me. Elias's chest tightened. Always, he said. And don't forget, you're not alone anymore. The words sank deep into Lyra's mind. For years, she had believed she was the last of her kind, abandoned and unworthy of care. Yet here was a human, offering not just safety but recognition of her value. She didn't fully understand it yet, but a small seed of hope had taken root. The next day, the horizon traveled closer to a nearby star system. Elias decided it was time to teach Lyra a bit more about human culture, how humans not only survived, but cared for one another. He showed her the ship's library, filled with books, records, and holovids of human history and exploration. Lyra wandered among them cautiously, her fingers brushing over the surfaces as though touching the stories themselves might be dangerous. This one, Elias said, pointing to a holovid, is about a human expedition to a planet with massive storms. The team could have given up, but they didn't. They stayed together, helped each other, and survived. Lyra tilted her head, studying the flickering images. They'd risk themselves for others? Elias nodded. Exactly. That's humans. Not always perfect, but we fight for each other because it matters. Courage, loyalty, kindness, those things are real and they shape who we are. Lyra's silver eyes softened. I have never known that. Only fear, only survival. You can know more, Elias said gently, step by step. That's all it takes. She nodded slowly, though her eyes still reflected a mix of doubt and curiosity. Elias knew it would take time, but he was patient. Patience was something humans excelled at, he thought. They could face impossible odds and still hold on to hope. Hours later, an alert sounded. Mara's voice was tense. Captain, sensors detect movement on the horizon. Not life forms we know. Could be stowaways or something worse, Elias frowned. Secure all access points. Lyra, stay close to me. Do exactly as I say. They moved cautiously through the corridors. Lyra's steps were light, silent, but she was aware. Elias noticed her focus. She was learning fast, adapting. They reached the source, a small compartment near the engine room. Inside was a strange creature, clearly alien but injured and weak. Elias assessed it quickly. It's not hostile. Just scared. Lyra stepped forward instinctively. I can help, she said softly. Elias glanced at her, surprised. Go ahead. But carefully. Lyra approached the creature, extending a hand. She whispered softly, soothing it in her own language. The creature responded slowly, calming under her touch. Elias watched, impressed. She had a natural ability, empathy combined with skill that humans often lacked. You're amazing, Elias said quietly. Not everyone could do that. Lyra looked down almost shyly. I did what I could. Elias smiled warmly. And it mattered. That's why I call you love. Not because it's just a word, but because I see your value. And I'm grateful you're here. Lyra paused, her eyes meeting his. Slowly, a small, genuine smile formed. I understand, she said quietly. A little? I think, Elias nodded. That's all I ask. One step at a time. As the horizon continued its journey, the bond between human and alien grew stronger. Lyra's walls were slowly crumbling, replaced with cautious trust. She had survived alone for years, but now she had someone who cared, someone who believed in her, someone willing to call her love and mean it. And in the cold expanse of space, that small seed of trust began to grow, promising new beginnings, courage, and a chance for Lyra to see herself not as a survivor alone, but as someone who mattered. The horizon glided toward the hidden human settlement of Aurora Haven, a lush planet tucked far from the main trade routes. Its skies were painted with soft shades of blue and violet, and the forests stretched for miles untouched by war or industry. For the first time since Arden 7, Lyra saw a place that felt alive. Safe. Elias guided the ship down slowly, careful of the thick treetops below. Mara assisted, monitoring sensors and scanning for possible threats. Lyra stood beside Elias, eyes wide, drinking in every detail. She had never seen forests like these, sunlight filtering through the branches or rivers sparkling like ribbons of silver. It's beautiful, she whispered. Elias smiled. Yes, and it's safe here. People like you and me, everyone, can find peace here. Lyra's silver eyes scanned the horizon. She was curious, cautious, and hesitant, but something in Elias's calm voice made her feel, perhaps for the first time, that she belonged. The ship landed gently in a clearing, and Elias helped Lyra step onto the soft grass. The air smelled sweet, filled with the scent of flowers and damp earth. She inhaled slowly, her heart lifting, though doubt lingered. Could she really belong here? The settlement itself was small but vibrant. Humans and aliens of different species moved about, tending gardens, repairing structures, or teaching children. Laughter and conversation floated through the air, a sound Lyra hadn't heard in years. She had only known fear and silence. "Welcome to Aurora Haven," Elias said softly. "Here you can be safe. You can learn, grow, and maybe even trust again." Lyra glanced around. Some humans noticed her and smiled warmly, waving politely. Other aliens studied her cautiously but without hostility. For a moment, her shoulders relaxed. The settlement was alive, not with weapons or war, but with life and kindness. Elias took Lyra to the communal area, where people gathered to share food and stories. Children ran past laughing, their small hands brushing against plants and robots alike. Lyra watched quietly, still hesitant, still unsure. A young human approached her with a bowl of food. "Here," he said softly, "you must be hungry." Lyra froze. The G's. The horizon rested in the calm of Aurora Haven's clearing, its engines silent, its systems cooling. The settlement was quiet now, recovering from the recent attack, but the impact of the day's events lingered. Lyra walked slowly beside Elias, her silver eyes reflecting both exhaustion and wonder. She had never experienced anything like this, humans and aliens working together, sharing courage and protecting each other without expectation. Elias noticed the small, careful movements she made, how her posture had relaxed slightly, and how her eyes had softened. He smiled. For someone who had spent years surviving alone, Lyra was learning to accept care and trust. "You were incredible today," Elias said softly. "I've seen many fight, but you protected not just yourself but everyone around you. That's true courage." Lyra shook her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. I only did what I had to." "No," Elias said firmly. "Courage isn't just survival. It's standing up for others even when it's hard, even when you're afraid. And today you did that." Her eyes met his, silver glowing faintly in the light of the setting sun. She had heard the word love from him before, but now it felt different. Stronger, warmer, a promise rather than just a word. "I understand a little more now," she said quietly. "About caring, about helping, about humans." Elias's chest tightened. That small acknowledgement was more than words could convey. And that's all it takes, Lyra. One step at a time. Later, Elias took Lyra to the settlement's medical and training facility. Mara was assisting with repairs on the horizon, while instructors trained younger aliens and humans in self-defense and teamwork. Elias wanted Lyra to see that trust and skill went hand in hand, not just fighting, but working together, helping each other grow. Lyra observed quietly, her sharp senses taking in every detail, the way humans adjusted for each other, the way they coordinated without speaking too loudly, the care they showed for even the smallest members of the settlement. "You see that?" Elias asked softly. "Even when we face danger, we don't abandon each other. That's what makes humans human, and that's what makes us strong." Lyra nodded slowly, absorbing the lessons. The word human had always been distant, almost meaningless. Now she began to see it as a reflection of courage, compassion, and hope. The calm was short-lived. A warning siren echoed from the perimeter. "Captain!" Sensors detect unauthorized ships entering orbit. Mara's voice was tense. Elias frowned. "Prepare defensive shields." "Lyra, stay close and be ready." Lyra's pulse quickened, but she didn't hesitate. She had learned to trust Elias, to act with focus, not panic. They moved to the horizon, where the approaching ships became visible, sleek raiders, faster and more aggressive than before. Elias activated the shields and prepared the engines for evasive maneuvers. "Lyra, I need you to watch the incoming patterns. Help me predict their moves." Lyra's sharp eyes scanned the ships, reading their movements instinctively. She pointed to the gaps between them, showing Elias where they could pass safely. With her guidance, the horizon twisted and darted, avoiding enemy fire with precision. The battle was intense, but this time Lyra was not afraid. She understood her abilities, and she understood humans' bravery, especially Elias's calm in the storm. Together they outmaneuvered the raiders, forcing them to retreat. Once the threat was gone, Elias exhaled slowly. "See, you did it. You helped protect everyone, not just yourself. That's more than survival, that's heroism." Lyra blinked, stunned. "I did?" "Yes," Elias said gently. "And you were amazing. You've come so far, Lyra. I'm proud of you." That night under the stars, Lyra and Elias sat near a small fire outside the horizon. The settlement had quieted, and the air was filled with the soft sounds of life. Crickets, distant laughter, and the gentle rustle of trees. I never thought I could feel safe, Lyra admitted softly. Not just alive, but safe and cared for. Elias reached for her hand. You can. And you do. You're not alone anymore, Lyra. Never again. Her silver eyes met his, full of emotion she couldn't yet name. She felt the warmth of his hand, the steadiness of his voice, and the promise behind the word he used so often. Love. I think I'm beginning to understand, she whispered. Elias smiled. That's all I ask. One step at a time. We'll face whatever comes together. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to imagine a future, one not ruled by fear or solitude, but by connection, trust, and courage. She could belong here. She could grow. She could even care for someone without fear. The next day, the settlement received news from scouts. The remnants of the Arden 7 raiders had been regrouping, planning another strike. This time, Elias knew they couldn't run. They had to stand and protect not just themselves, but everyone in Aurora Haven. Lyra trained alongside the settlement's defenders, her skills sharp, her instincts honed. She moved with purpose, guiding new recruits, teaching them how to dodge, evade, and defend. Her confidence had grown, her fear replaced by focus and courage. Elias watched her from a distance, pride swelling in his chest. She had transformed from a frightened survivor into a leader, capable, brave, and fiercely protective. The raiders arrived at dusk. Their ships moved with intent, firing as they approached the settlement. The defenders were ready. Shields flared, energy beams clashed, and chaos erupted. But Elias and Lyra moved as one. Lyra directed groups of settlers to safety, intercepted small raider squads, and used her instincts to anticipate enemy moves. Elias piloted the horizon, striking at key targets with precision, while Mara coordinated support from the ground. The battle was fierce, but together they repelled the attackers. When the last raider ship fled into the darkness, the settlement cheered, exhausted but victorious. Lyra sank to the ground, her body trembling from the adrenaline, but her heart was light. She had fought not just for herself, but for others. She had found courage, strength, and a place to belong. Elias knelt beside her. You see, that's what I meant. Courage, compassion, trust. You have all of it. And I'm proud of you, love. Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes shimmering with emotion. For the first time, she fully accepted the word, the feeling behind it, and the bond it represented. I think I understand now, she said softly. I trust you. Elias smiled warmly. And I'll never break that trust, Lyra. I promise. As the night settled over Aurora Haven, Lyra gazed at the stars, feeling a calm she had never known. She had been alone for so long, surviving through fear and instinct. Now she had a family, a home, and someone who saw her not as a weapon or a survivor, or an outsider, but as someone who mattered. Elias stood beside her, silent but steady, offering strength and reassurance. Together, they had faced danger, learned trust, and discovered courage. And in the quiet of the night, Lyra realized that she had not just survived, she had begun to live. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and endless possibilities. But with Elias beside her calling her love, and with a settlement that had accepted her as one of their own, Lyra knew that she could face anything, and for the first time, she felt truly at home. The morning sun rose over Aurora Haven, casting golden light across the treetops. The settlement was alive with activity. Humans and aliens working together, repairing structures, tending gardens, and sharing laughter. Lyra walked beside Elias, feeling a sense of calm and belonging she had never known before. For the first time in years, she felt truly safe, and more than that, she felt part of something greater. Elias glanced at her. Today, we check the perimeter and ensure the raiders won't return. Are you ready? Lyra straightened, her silver eyes steady. Yes, I'm ready. Elias smiled, pride in his chest. She had grown so much, strong, confident, and courageous. Not just physically, but emotionally. She had learned trust, compassion, and the meaning behind the word he used for her. Love. They moved through the forest, scanning the horizon with careful precision. Lyra's senses were sharp, alert to every movement. Birds called in the trees. and small creatures scurried in the underbrush. She realized she could appreciate these small details without fear, a luxury she had not experienced for years. Elias watched her, noting the way her posture had relaxed, how her eyes reflected curiosity and awareness rather than caution and distrust. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She was no longer the lone survivor of Arden 7. She had become part of a family, a community, and he hoped a future filled with hope. Hours passed as they patrolled the perimeter. The horizon sat quietly in the clearing, ready for any threat. But the forest remained peaceful. Lyra moved with confidence, occasionally pointing out unusual sounds or signs of wildlife. "You've changed," Elias said softly, breaking the silence. Lyra looked at him, curious. "Changed?" "Yes, you're calmer. You trust more. You've learned to fight not just for yourself, but for others. That's human strength." Lyra considered his words. I never thought I could care about others. I thought survival was the only thing that mattered." Elias nodded. "I know, and it's natural. But there's more to life than survival. Courage, loyalty, compassion. That's what makes us human, and you've shown all of those today." Her eyes softened. She realized she felt something she had never felt before, connection. She wasn't alone. Not anymore. When they returned to the settlement, the elders gathered in the central plaza. Elias led Lyra forward, introducing her properly. "Everyone," he said, voice strong and steady. "This is Lyra. She has faced unimaginable challenges.